You're listening to 1015 KOCI LPFM Newport Beach, Costa Mesa. Welcome to Sunday Brunch, underwritten by Classic Yacht Excursions and on the web at classicyachtexcursions.com. And now, the hosts of Sunday Brunch, Tom Johnson and Lynn Selich.
Not to be too pithy, but...
and we have our next guest, Dr. Brian Green.
Yes, and Dr. Green, we're pleased to have you on.
Good morning.
You have a movie that you're going to talk to us about, and I thought this was very clever, but it's called Say Ah, and that's what my doctor always says to me. He's like, okay, so tell us a little bit about a little bit about you, and then how you kind of got into this say business.
Not a problem. We're pun very much intended.
Yeah.
I'm a local dentist in the community, and I'm pretty involved, and I'm kind of a big nerd.
Where's your practice?
I'm in the avocado buildings around the corner.
Oh, hey,
so,
right around the corner.
So not too far from here. And I got together with a number of doctors in the community that are affiliated with Hoag, and we started talking about chronic health care and disease in America.
Which, and a lot of it, I think people don't realize, start in their mouth, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. But you know, your teeth are very,
Our joke always is,
yeah.
The mouth is the gateway to the rest of the body.
And I mean, that is true. And so I think sometimes we take for granted, you know, the health of our mouth and how it affects the rest of our body. So anyway, carry on. And you were saying? So
we're going to be putting on this movie called Say Ah, and what it really is talking about the state of the healthcare system and kind of the paradigm shift that's coming with medicine. Mm-hmm. You know, again, pun very much intended. It's kind of talking about the cavity that's in the healthcare system.
Okay, so now, are you referring to the Affordable Care Act?
Nope. It's not. Let me talk a little bit more about it.
Okay.
So it's not, regardless of party affiliation or, you know, so everyone's become so, you know, focused on
the law,
healthcare, and in terms of insurance and what's going on. The idea of quality of healthcare has kind of gone out the window. And so we're bringing that back a little bit. Medicine really has gone through three eras. Where it started off is identifying disease. You know, back in, you know, the early 1800s, early 1900s, people were discovering diseases and chronic diseases, you know, like tuberculosis and cardiovascular disease and things of that nature. But people were still dying from. Yeah. And then vaccinations and antibiotics came around, and people started to live longer. We became a culture and a really medical community of fixers. We are really good fixers. Mm-hmm. And now we're kind of moving on to this, you know, third era of medicine, which is about prevention. We're going to be talking, you know, a lot about, you know, how now that we can identify disease, now that we can fix disease, well, how can we prevent it from occurring in the first place? And that's really what SAYA is all about. It's explaining the symbiotic relationship between the medical and dental communities.
So tell us a little bit about, when is it going to air, and
kind of what is it? I mean, because
he doesn't want to give it away too much.
But it's kind of unique. You can, I mean, your flyer says a little bit about it because it's a documentary, and it includes. There's some great stuff that's going to happen, and you can tell by the flyer.
So it's an hour-long movie. It's going to be Wednesday, July 23rd at the Port Theater.
Oh, great! I love the Port.
It starts at 5:30. The movie viewing time starts at 6:30, and we've developed a medical panel. So there's going to be Dr. Belowitz from Coastal Kids. He's our pediatrician. We have Dr. Sarabi, who sits on the board of the cardio department at Hoag. He's going to be our cardiologist.
Oh, wow.
Dr. Morabian, who's going to be a gastroenterologist. Dr. Yu, who's has a concierge practice with Dr. Brower here in Newport Beach. So they're all local Newport Beach affiliated physicians that are going to be talking about, again, this relationship about chronic disease and chronic health care and inflammation.
Okay, so it's at the Port. Tell me again, the Port, July?
The Port Theater, July 23rd.
23rd, and it starts at?
5:30.
I'm actually making notes because I am intrigued by not only the subject matter, but how it relates to my own, you know, life and the health of my mouth and everything. And by the way, I need a new dentist, so maybe we'll talk off air. But one of the things, like I said, that people I don't think put two and two together is the health of their mouth, and that it can affect your heart, it can affect your intestinal tract and all that. And is the goal, like, what's the goal of all of this? Is it just to disseminate info?
It's really to bring light the idea of inflammatory disease and what's going on. To kind of throw out some stats, we have twice the chronic disease rate of that of Europe. We have 4 times the chronic disease rate of that of India, Mexico, China, and Japan.
Now, and those are countries where you would think that we would be far exceeding the health stats. What is it? I mean, what's going on?
It's becoming more informed. It's becoming aware of what's going on, and it doesn't have anything to do with changing the healthcare system or changing, biopharmaceuticals or anything of that nature. It's one person at a time becoming individually responsible for their own healthcare.
And so this goes back to, like, if I've heard it once, I've heard it 1,000 times from my dentist over the years, ever since I was like 5 years old. Floss, 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 whatever,
Totally.
And to this day, I feel guilty if I don't do those things. And it really does boil down to personal responsibility when it comes to nobody else can get in your mouth. I mean, we were talking earlier about scrubbing our dog's teeth, and they can't do it for themselves, but. This is something that people...
Everyone jokes about going to the dentist. Yeah, my dentist told me to floss again. Yeah. We kind of harp on these, healthy gums don't bleed, topic. And, where it really goes, imagine this. Imagine that you had a cut in your finger. Well, when you have that cut in your finger, you have an inflammatory response, but it heals itself.
All right.
Well, imagine something that didn't heal itself for a day, a week, a month, a years. And if you're a diabetic, well, that inflammatory response causes you to release some sugar. And if your insulin isn't working, now you're having that sugar released throughout your whole body, and it's not working for itself. It's not being able to combat the disease that you have. And that's where, when you have this inflammatory response for long periods of time, we get these chronic disorders such as cardiovascular disease, strokes, sleep apnea, diabetes, things of that nature. So that's really what it is. It's an informational, time, so we can talk a little bit about what's going on and really bring to light, especially within the Newport Beach community and really the medical community, can show how we're really rising above and providing a new standard of care, a new quality of care, and really a new era of care.
I like how medical professionals are making themselves more accessible. I know my doctor, who's with Hogue with family, he's so accessible, and part of it is they're accessing the technology. I can email him now, or he can, send me results of tests and things, and it just makes it more personal. And I like that you're doing this and bringing this to a level that people can really interact with you on, because sometimes you go to the doctor and you don't really interact with them.
Well, I think
outside of when you're sick.
Yeah, I think it's interesting though. Is I've heard a number of speeches from Rick Afable, who is the CEO now of St. Joe Hogue Healthcare System.
Correct.
And when he talks about healthcare going forward, it's not going to be about going to the hospital anymore when something goes wrong. It's going to be about healthcare and always staying kind of in front of everything and taking care of it beforehand, before it ever happens. And, certainly the teeth are, I'm a person that had a kidney transplant. So I have specific instructions on what needs to happen before I go to a dentist. And so, you follow these different things and everything. But it just goes to show you how important the mouth is.
All right, to the rest of your system.
Because I'm an antibiotic guy before I go to the dentist. And, This sounds interesting, a film about fighting the world's largest cavity, say awe. And again, it was interesting. Thomas Giulioni was just on a minute ago talking about getting tickets for the 4th of July. You're using the same company, Eventbrite, which is a place to go to make reservations. Now, again, tell us how people can go there to make reservations and get tickets.
Very easily. You can go to Eventbrite and type in "Say Ah," and you can purchase tickets there. Or you can go to show up at the door, July 23rd, and purchase tickets at the door. But I will say it's likely to be sold out.
I'm guessing for our audience, if you've never been to the Port, great theater. It's a great venue for you to have something like that. It's, easily accessible, and it's a great time. Come after work, and then people will be able to talk to the panel, correct? It'll be kind of a Q&A.
Correct. We're going to have a Q&A session afterwards with everybody, because we expect it to be, people to have a lot of questions afterwards and have this moment.
Aha.
Exactly.
Now, who's featured in the film, real quick?
So the movie was produced by Gary Cady. He's a person who has taken on a mission of making 30 million people happier and healthier. And so he produced the movie. It has a number of people from various medical communities around the country. And so that's where it became from. And I was introduced to the movie and thought it was a great thing and wanted to bring it to our local community.
Very good.
Great. So,
Very
Lynn,
good.
you want the good news or the bad news?
Well, I'll let you pick.
Well, the good news is Tom Pollock from Explore Ocean is coming up in the next half hour.
Yeah.
The bad news is I can see his hands are loaded with food for you.
Oh my gosh.
And every
Is he
week
bring-
we've shown up here at Explore Ocean, Tom Pollock
how cute.
shows up with food. And he's standing over in the shade because I have a feeling the food melts.
I love it. Oh,
It's
no.
okay because Lynn will floss afterwards.
Yeah,
I know,
right.
I'm sitting across from my potential future dentist
That's
here.
right.
So.
So we're going to come back live at Explore Ocean.
Dr. Green, thank you so much for
No
being
problem.
with us.
Thank you for having me, Lynn and Tom.
Thank you for being here. We're going to come back live. You're listening to 101.5 KOCI LPFM, Newport Beach, Costa Mesa. We'll come back after this.
Come on back.